我们大家以一颗虔诚恭敬的心，向佛陀礼敬3拜，一礼敬。2礼敬。3礼敬。好，感恩。我们请翻开网课第16页。yo su bhagava arahang samma sambuddho sovakato yena bhagavata dhammo supatipanno yasa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Dhammayang bhagavantang sadhammang sasanghang imehi sagare hiyatarahang arobitehi abhibhujayama Satu no bhante bhagava sucirat pariniputopi Pachima janata nugamba manasa ime sagare tugata panagara bhute patiganhatu amhagang digaratang hitaya sukhaya 那位世尊是阿罗汉正等正觉者。法是彼世尊所善说，彼世尊的弟子僧团是善行道者，于此共秉，我们虔诚恭敬的敬奉于世尊法以及僧。善哉尊者，虽然世尊般涅槃已久，但其请世尊出以悲悯后人之心，接受这些供品，以让我们得到长恒的利益与安乐法。Arahang samma sambuddho bhagava Buddhang bhagavantang abhivademi 世尊是阿罗汉正等正觉者，我礼敬佛陀世尊。Sovakato bhagavata dhammo dhammang namasami 法乃世尊所善说，我礼敬法。Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Sanghang namami 僧伽，世尊之声闻弟子是善行道者，我礼敬僧伽。Annamayam buddhasa bhagavato bhupapaganamakaraṅgaromase Namo dassa bhagavato Arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo dassa bhagavato Arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo dassa bhagavato Arahato samma sambuddhassa 现在让我们来礼赞佛世尊。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。Annamayang buddha nusatina garomase Tangko bana bhagavantang ewang galaya sato abugato iti biso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijajarana sambano sugato lokavitu Anutaro burisa dhamma sarati Satha dewa manusana Utto bhagavati 现在让我们来念诵佛随念的方法。世尊的圣名广为流传，世尊是如此阿罗汉正等正觉者，明行具足者，善事世间解无上士、调御丈夫、天人师、佛、世尊。Andamayam Buddha Bhikitingaro Mase Buddha Varahanda Varata Diguna Biyuto Sutta Biyana Garuna Yisamakatato Bote siyo sujanatang gamalang wasuro Wanda mahanda marana sirasa jinetang Utoyo sababaninang saranang gemamutamang Patamanusatidana wanda mitang sirenahang Buddha sahasamira suwa Buddho misami kisaro Buddho tukasakata javitata jahidasame Buddha sahaniya demi sariran jivitam jita Wandandohang jarisami Buddha sewa supotitang Nati me saranan anyang Buddho me saranang warang Etena saja wacena Wadeyang satu sasane Buddha me wandamanena Yang bunyang basutang ita Sapebi andaraya me Mahesutta satejasa 现在让我们来礼赞佛陀。佛陀拥有阿罗汉等诸功德及清净大智以大悲于生，他让善事觉醒，犹如阳光让莲花绽放。我俯首礼敬这无争者、胜利者。佛陀是所有众生最安稳的皈依处。我俯首礼敬这地下的邪念处。我是佛陀的普世，佛陀是我的主人，佛陀是众苦的摧毁者，为我带来利益与安乐。对于佛，我愿奉献此身体与生命，我将奉行对善觉之佛陀的礼敬。与我并无其他皈依处，佛陀是我至上的皈依处。于此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长，以此礼敬佛陀的功德，愿一切显难止息。Kayena wacaya waceka sawa Buddhe gugamam bhagatang mayaya Buddho padikana tuwacayata Kavandare sawaritu Buddhe 无论于身与意，凡是我对佛陀所做的任何恩怨，愿佛陀接受我的认错。未来我会对佛陀恭敬谨慎。Annamayan dhammanusatina yangaro mase Swakato bhagavata dhammo Sanditiko agaliko ehibasiko Obanaiko pacatang veditapo vinyuhiti 现在让我们来念诵法谁念的方法。世尊所上妙宣说之法，是可亲自见证，无实的，可邀人来见证，导向涅槃的，由知者们各自证知的。Annamayan Dhamma Pikitingaro Se Swakata Diguna Yoga Wasena Seyo Yomaka Bhaga Bariya Divimoka Peto Dhammo Guru Gabadana Dadatari Tari Vandamahan Dhammaharam Varatama Metam Dhammo Yo Savapanina Saranam Kemmamutamam Dutiyanu Danam Vandamitam Sirenaham Dhamma Sahasamira Suva Dhammo Mesami Kisaro Kamo tukha sakata javitata jaidasame Dhamma sahaniyatemi sariran jivitan jitan Vandando anjarisami Dhamma sewa sutamatam Nati me saranan anyang Dhammo me saranang warang Etena saja wajena Wateyang satu sasane Dhamma me vandamanena Yang bunyam basutang ita Sape bi andaraya me Mahesutta sate jasa 现在让我们来赞颂礼赞法。法是殊胜的，具有世尊善说等诸功德，可分为道以果，教以解脱。法护持奉行法的人，免堕二道。我虔诚的礼敬卓越的法，黑暗的摧毁者。法是所有众生最安稳的归依处。我俯首礼敬这第二项的邪念处。我是法的普世，法是我的主人。法是众苦的摧毁者，为我带来利益与安乐。对于法，我愿奉献此身体与生命。我将奉行对法义真理的礼敬，与我并无其他归依处。法是我至上的归依处。于此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长。于此礼敬法的功德，愿一切险难都止息。Ayena wacaya wacena sawa Ame kutamam bhagatam bayaya Tammo patikan hatu cyantan Karanta vesavare tumatamye 无论于身与意，凡是我对法所做的任何分别，愿法接受我的认错。未来我会对法恭敬谨慎。Annamayang sanghanusati nayang garomase Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Ujjupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Samicipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Yatidan cattari purisa yukani atta purisa pugala Esa bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Ahuneyo bahuneyo dakhineyo Anjali garaniyo Anuttaram bunyaketam lokasati 现在让我们来 赞颂及随念生伽之功德。生伽世尊的弟子是善行道者，生伽世尊的弟子是正直行道者，生伽世尊的弟子是如理行道者，生伽世尊的弟子是正当行道者。他们即使是双八辈人，这生伽世尊的弟子值得供养，值得殷勤礼敬，值得布施，值得合掌敬礼，是世间无上的福田。Andamayang sangha pikitinga roma se Satama jo supati pati guna diyuto Yoda vito ariya pukala sangha seto Sila di dhamma bhavara sayaka yacito Wanda mahanda mariya gananam susudam Sangho yo sababanena saranam kemmamutamam Tatyanusati tanam vandamitang sirenaham Sangha sahasamira soa Sangho me samijisaro Sangho tukha sakata javitata jaidasame Sangha sahaniya demi sariran jivitan jitam Vandan dohan jarisami Sangha sobhati banatang Nati me saranan anyang Sangho me saranang warang Etena saja wacena Wateyang satu sasane Sangha mevandhamanena Yambunyam vasutang hita Sapepi andarayame Mahisutta satejasa 现在让我们来礼赞生伽。由正法而生，有善于行道等诸德行。无上生伽由世双八辈圣者组成，以戒律与法来引导其身心。我礼敬那群清净的圣众。生伽是所有众生最安稳的皈依处。我俯首礼敬这第三项的随念处。我是生伽的普世，生伽是我的主人，生伽是众苦的摧毁者。为我带来利益与安乐。对于生伽，我愿奉献此身体与生命。我将奉行对生伽善修的崇敬。与我并无其他皈依处，生伽是我至上的皈依处。于此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长。于此礼敬生伽的功德，愿一切险难都止息。Kamena wajaya wajeda sawa Sanke bukama vakata vayaya Sanko patigana turjayata Karantare sanoritu vasanke 无论于生与义，凡是我对生伽所做的任何恶业，愿生伽接受我的认错，未来无为对生伽恭敬谨慎。大家请辅助。接下来翻开第47页，因常思维之法。Handamaya abhina bhajawe kana bhatang bhanamase Jara dhammo hi jarang anatito Vayati dhammo hi vayati anatito Marana dhammo hi marana anatito Sapehi me biyehi nana behi nana bhavo vina bhavo Gamma Sakohi Gamma Dayato Gamma Yoni Gamma Bantu Gamma Bati Sarano Yanga Mangarisami Kalayana Wapa Bhagangwa Dasadayato Bhavisami Ewa Amehi Abhina Bhajawe Kitapang。现在让我们来诵念因常思维之无法。衰老是自然的法则，我并不能超越衰老；病苦是自然的法则，我并不能超越病苦；死亡是自然的法则，我并不能超越死亡。我所拥有的一切，不论是喜欢或珍惜的，最后将会与我们背离或分散的。我是业的主人，是自己业的继承人，由自己的业而生，是自己业的亲主，依自己的业的支撑而活。不论我造何种业，善的或恶的，我们必将去承担。我们应当时时如此思维及反省。谢谢，翻开第50页，无常的醒狮。Andamaya anijanusati batanga namase Sape sankhara anicca Sape sankhara dukkha Sape dhamma anatta Aduvan jivitam Duvan maranam Awasamaya maritapang Marana bariyosana me jivitang Jivitami aniyatang Marana me niyatang Wada ayangayo ajirang Abeda vinyano Juto Atisesati Patavi Karingara Iwaniratang Anicca Wada Sankhara Upadawayadamino Upacitawaniruchanti Desa Upasamo Sukho。现在让我们来省思无常。诸行无常，诸行是苦，诸法无我。生命不是永恒的，死亡却是恒久的。我将会死，那是必定的。生命的终结即是死亡。生命是如此不定，死亡却是肯定的。的确，这个身体不久的将来没有了时，舍弃了也会躺在这里，埋在地下，如同一块朽木般无用。一切因缘和合法行皆是无常的，升起与灭去是其本质，升起之后必定会灭去。一切因缘和合法的极灭是乐。接下来翻开第33页，示范组33页。Andamaya metta baranangaromase Aham sukhito homi Nittukho homi Avero homi Abhaya bhajo homi Anikho homi Sukhi adanam bariharami Sape sata sukhita honto Sape sata avera honto Sape sata abhaya bhaja honto Sape sata anika honto Sape sata sukhi atanam bariharanto Sape sata sapa tukha bamuchantu. Sape sata rata sambatito mawikachantu. Sape sata gama saga gama dayata gama yoni gama bantu gama bati sarana. Yang gamang garisanti karayana wapa bhagawa dasadayata bhavisanti。现在让我们来诵念示范主。愿我快乐，愿我没有痛苦，愿我没有怨恨，愿我没有嗔怒，愿我没有烦恼，愿我保持自己的快乐，愿一切众生快乐，愿一切众生没有怨恨，愿一切众生没有嗔怒，愿一切众生没有烦恼，愿一切众生保持自己的快乐，愿一切众生解脱一切的苦痛，愿一切众生不失去他们所得到的成就，一切众生是他们自己业的主人，业的继承人，由业而生，是业的亲主，依业的支撑而活。无论他们造何种业，善的或恶的，他们必将去承担。我看我们今天的这晚课就到这里，我们一起礼佛。
Let us now pay respect to Ajahn by bowing 3 times. First bow, second bow, third bow. Good evening, Ajahn. Let us request the 3 refuges and 5 precepts.
Please go ahead.
We'll begin with a 3 bow. First bow, second bow, third bow. Mayang phante ti saranena saha panja silani yachama tutiyampi mayang phante ti saranena saha panja silani yachama tatiyampi mayang phante ti saranena saha panja silani yachama.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato อะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
บุตตังสรณังกัจฉามิ
พุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ดุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ดุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ดุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตุติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ตติยัมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทิสรณังกัมมนังนิติตัง
อามาพันเต
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมมาธิยามิ
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
อาดินาดานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมมาธิยามิ
อาดินาดานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
อเมสุมิชาจาราเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมมาธิยามิ
กาเมสุมิชฌาจาราเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาดาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมมาธิยามิ
มุสาวาดาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยมัจจพมารัฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยมัจจปมาดัฏฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
อิมานิปัญจสิกขาปดานิสีเลนะสุขติงยันติสีเลนะโภคสัมปทาสีเลนะสุขติงยันติสีเลนะนิพุติงยันติทัสมาสีลังวิโสดาย
สาธุสาธุสาธุ Let us bow 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Now let us formally request a Dhamma discourse.
บรหมาจาโลกาทิปักติสหังปักติกักตันจารีอันทิกวักรังอายาจากทักสันติทักสักตาปักรักจากขักจัตติกาเทเสทุทังมังอนุกังปิกมังปักจัง
Good evening to Singapore and Malaysia again, and maybe some people who tune in from other parts of the world. Ajahn Chagino invited me again at the last time. I will soon leaving this monastery, so he invited me again to give a talk to help him out a bit, as long as I'm here. But my health is lately not so good. I have some stomach problems quite continuously, and I'm a little bit weak and also mentally a little bit foggy. So please excuse me when I'm not so mentally agile tonight. Therefore, I kind of decided that I might, for the next maybe 20 minutes, read you something first. Something I translated from a Ajahn, a disciple of Luang Pu Gongma, who was himself a disciple of Ajahn. And I translated this talk into English from the Thai language last year. And it is a little bit strong in the tone, but maybe some of you have not yet kind of tasted the spiciness of some of our Ajahns, of our referred teachers in our tradition, especially the older generation. They can be quite strong in language, so please be prepared a little bit. It is an encouraging talk, but you have to have a little bit of practice, experience, and understanding to value it, I would say. I think it was especially given for monks back in the days. It's an older talk from 1998, not so old, but yeah, 20 years around. And this is a talk from Ajahn Ben Danakaro, Luang Po Ben. He has a monastery in Sakonnakhon. He had a monastery because he deceased last year on the same day, on the 16th of January, which some people of you know is the same date of passing away like Luang Po Cha. Like last year on the Luang Po Cha remembrance celebration, he passed away. And he was quite famous Dhammayut, forest Ajahn. He was quite revered also by our Ajahns in the Ajahn Chah tradition. Also the foreign monks paid constantly respect to him. I met him twice, I think, just shortly, but one of my early teachers, teacher I ordained with, he held him in high regard, this Ajahn here, this Luang Pu Ben, and constantly played talks, recorded talks of him and our night meditation. So I got, from early days in my monkhood, I got exposed to this really tough style of this Ajahn, excuse me. And there was one talk in particular I got a recording of. And since a young monk, I listened to it over and over again. And it gave me inspiration for my own practice. And the talk is about the Buddha meditation. I think many of you are familiar with a meditation word as an object for meditation, especially if you come from the Chinese tradition. You probably know the Amitabha, right? Amitabha mantra recitation. And in our forest Sangha style, this is exactly the same. It's just a different word. Buddha means the awakened one, right? This is just a word, but this word has positive connotations for us Buddhists. The same like in the Pure Land school, Jingtu has the Amitabha, Amitabha, as a name for the Buddha. And to keep that name repeatedly in mind is a good way of calming the mind. Because in my last talks, I exclusively talked about breath meditation, which is definitely the basis for my practice and should be the basis for many people's practice. But there are also other methods which some people prefer or even find more useful, especially for the beginning, to calm the mind, to get control over the mind. So that's why I kind of decided to read you this talk, if you don't mind. It should be kind of around 20 minutes if I read a little bit more quickly. Maybe afterwards we can have a question and answers, or I give some commentary to it. So I have to step between here. Yes, since it is a talk from a Kuba Ajahn, and many people believe he finished the practice. He was a really powerful monk, also for foreigners, as I mentioned. But there were not many teachings translated into English. So that's why I, especially this talk, which since a young monk, gave me inspiration. So I translated it and I wanted to share it with you. So it's a kind of first time lay people will hear that. So I gave it a name, what actually is your refuge? And it also refers to Buddha Dhamma Sangha as our refuge, as I said a few weeks ago, but we have to make it practically a refuge. And how to do that? And this is one method. So you can sit in meditation and listen to a Kuba Ajahn through translation. So what actually is your refuge? By Phra Ajahn Ben Danakaro, and he lived from 1928 to last year, 2020. He passed away. And this is from a talk he gave on 3rd November, 1998. Busy is the world, eternally busy. That's how it is. Therefore, the Lord Buddha taught us to let go of the world, to let go of all these futile thoughts regarding the world. But when we are not paying full attention to the cultivation of the meditation word, Buddho, when we are not closely sticking with Buddho, then even if we wish to stay with Buddho, the mind will have already gone off somewhere else. Where? We don't know. Internally, we recite Buddho, 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 but the mind doesn't really want to stay with Buddho. If we are going to practice Buddho, but don't stay mindfully determined on Buddho, then in the very next moment, Buddho is lost. We've simply forgotten Buddho. Buddho, Buddho, Buddho. Keep the mind occupied with Buddho. You must be firmly fixed on Buddho so that you don't forget Buddho. The moment you are really firmly intent on Buddho and do not allow Buddho to slip away and be forgotten, the steadiness and solidity of Buddho in the mind will just increase and increase more and more. Really stick with it. Be resolute. The very action of mentally staying with the meditation word, Buddho, is the letting go of all the worlds. Not entertaining any kind of thoughts or preoccupations related to the world, this is exactly what is meant by letting go of the world. It means not allowing the mind to hold on to things regarding the world or to hanker after any input from the world. We are not the least interested. Our only interest lies in sticking with Buddho, sticking with Buddho, sticking with Buddho. When we recite the meditation word in our mind, we must be fully attentive to it. At the same time, we know it mindfully without getting distracted. Like this, the strength of our intentness to stick with it will only increase and increase, to the extent that losing the meditation word is not an option anymore. But we still miss the world and yearn to think about it. Since the world is ever busy, the moment our mind gets involved with it, the mind then gets busy too. Knowing this, extract your mind from the world. Do not allow it to run away and get involved with thoughts about the world. Transcend things of the world for good. Then there will be no more confusion and distraction in the heart, or at least it will be significantly reduced. Nobody wants confusion. Every single heart yearns for freedom and safety from confusion. It is for this reason that practice is mandatory. Every one of you, no matter if you live in the village or the monastery or are ordained or not, if you are not practicing the meditation word Buddha, then your hearts are just staggering, stumbling, falling, and crawling around. Your hearts are thus getting ever dragged along with the stream of the world, being continuously pushed around by that worldly stream. That worldly stream never grants you a moment of respite. You never have time to compose yourselves, to get up and stand firmly again. You have no chance of resting or pausing. Your hearts are constantly dragged around by that worldly stream without break. But a mind which has overcome the world is able to stand, able to sit, able to lie down, because it has Buddha as its foundation. It is then that we have the Buddha as our refuge. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Stay with the meditation word, and the stream of the world cannot push or pull you around any longer. Buddhang saranang gacchami means our heart is staying with the meditation word Buddha. The more we stick with the meditation word, the more we have the Buddha as a refuge. Dhammang saranang gacchami, Buddha is the Dhamma. If we are with the meditation word Buddha, we have Dhamma as a refuge. And we also have the Sangha as our refuge. When we practice Buddha, 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 then we are with Buddhang, Dhammang, Sanghang. They are all gathered in this single word Buddha. Therefore, we have to make it as solid as possible. Firmly stick with Buddha. Make it steady, make it continuous. When it's solid and steady, there will be no more issues. When we are not firmly with Buddha, however, other issues can sneak into the mind and disturb it. They pull and shove you around to get involved with them. But if you are firmly with Buddha, with real determination and persistence in keeping the intentness up, then no other issue can sneak in and drag or push your mind around. And that's just because we are with Buddha. That means we are having the Buddha as our refuge. If we are solidly with Buddha, then the Buddha is really our refuge. Dhammo, Sangho will be really our refuge. But should we recite Buddha without the willingness to firmly hold on to that Buddha in our minds, then Buddhang, Dhammang, Sanghang will not be our refuge. That's because we are not being true towards Buddhang, Dhammang, Sanghang. Sometimes you are not really sure exactly what you are focusing on. You think Buddha, 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 but the mind is already engaged with something else. When you are thinking Buddha, 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 and the mind gets somewhere else, you've forgotten Buddha. And in that case, you are not having Buddhang, Dhammang, Sanghang as your refuge. It doesn't matter how many times you chant Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. If you're still entangled with the world, you can chant these words until your throat explodes. Your mind will still be considered to be in the world. You don't even have to say Buddhang, Dhammang, Sanghang, Saranang Gacchami as long as your mind is with Buddha, 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 Buddha. You've overcome the world already. No worldly issue is able to slip in and drag your mind around, to drag your mind out to get involved with it. But this is only if you are fully committed to Buddha. Therefore, whatever you do, you should do it for real. If you don't do it for real, you won't get results. Just fooling around doesn't yield the proper results. So do it for real. If you practice the meditation word Buddha, Buddha, Buddha for real, then the results will give rise to further results. But if you don't take up Buddha seriously, then your practice is just not serious. If such is the case, then whatever you do, the proper results won't appear. But when you eventually want to see some results from your efforts and no longer want to practice in vain, then give it a try and truly commit yourself to it. The more real you get with the meditation word, the more intense you will recite it. Wherever you are the most aware of it, it is exactly there that you should keep it going. If you reach that spot where it's most distinct and clear, there you have found your crucial spot. There you will reap the results from the meditation word Buddho. Okay, let's keep on meditating. Actually, we don't have to study much at all. Just study Buddho. Just take up that single meditation word Buddho. Just recite this one gatha, this one mantra, Buddho. Practice like the time when Luang Pu Man was doing intense walking meditation while he was staying with the hill tribes up in the mountains. Actually around this area here where we live. They asked him curiously, "Dear venerable monk, sir, why are you walking back and forth like this without break? Are you searching for something?" Luang Pu Man answered them, "I am searching for Buddho. When I walk with Buddho. When I sit with Buddho." That's also how we should be searching for Buddho. If you go to search for Buddho somewhere else, you won't find it. If you go to search of the Lord Buddha, you're not going to see him. If you search Buddho in an arahant, you also won't find it. You have to seek it inside yourself. There you will see the already present internal Buddho. There you will see that Buddho which the Lord Buddha had himself. You will come to see the Buddho of the noble arahant disciples. Seek Buddho. Seek it inside. Seek it within you. When you meet that Buddho, you will also have found the Lord Buddha himself. And at that time, you will have found the noble arahant disciples of the Lord Buddha along with it. Search for Buddho in yourself. Keep searching until you find this Buddho. But Buddho can only be found in a calm mind, not when you are just playing around. You're only going to meet with Buddho within a peaceful mind. A mind that just floats along with the current will not be able to find it. Only a mind which has cut off that current stops floating around. Then and there, the mind will meet with Buddho. The seeing of Buddho will occur only within calmness of mind. If the mind has not yet reached calmness, then whatever we think Buddho might be, oh, that's Buddho, or oh, this is Buddho, there's still no chance you will ever find and see the real Buddho. Sometimes you think you've got it right, but you are not sure yet because you just don't know. Buddho is only seen through a calm mind. It is seen through samadhi, through sati, through panya, and through peacefulness of mind. If the mind is not calm, you won't see it, no chance. We all have a mind, every single one of us. Have you seen the mind yet? I ask you. I guess most of you haven't seen it yet. And it is dissatisfied and agitated exactly because you haven't seen it yet. The moment the mind gets calm, we will see it right there and then. There's nothing special that will wake up in the mind. No thing will arise which is Buddho. It's just the mind itself which awakens. The Buddha is nothing other than this mind itself. An arahant is nothing other than this very mind itself. Buddho is nothing other than the mind. Therefore, we must get to know this Buddho. We must see this Buddho. We must reach Buddho. Practice Buddho a lot. Tonight is a perfect night to practice. It's pleasantly cool and no mosquitoes are bothering us. But the kilesas will certainly find something to bother us. These kilesas are really smart. No matter how many beings are out there in the world, the kilesas, the defilements, find a way to trouble every single one of them. Here in Thailand, how many people do we have? 60, 70 million? And this is not even included all other people out there in the world. But no matter how many there may be, the kilesas will find means to trouble every single one of them. They will find a way to take our mind as their home. They'll find a way to thoroughly put our hearts and minds on fire. They don't miss out on the single person. We could say the kilesas are the rulers of the world. It wouldn't be wrong here to say that they are the world's most powerful religious prophets. Every being in this world gets properly indoctrinated by them. And not just that. At the same time, beings readily and gladly accept practice and behavior instructions from them. They teach and guide us how to do things. It looks like nobody rejects or even opposes the teachings of His Holiness, Grandmaster Kilesa. So if we don't get smarter, every single one of us will keep on being disciples of the Kilesas, thoroughly trained by them. They give the orders and we just follow along. They pull us by the legs, they pull us by the hands, they pull us by the nose and we just follow them along. So if a person is not clever enough, that person goes to the Kilesas for refuge. Kilesang saranang gacchami, the mouth may utter, Buddhang saranang gacchami, but the heart actually means Kilesang saranang gacchami. The Buddha taught us to keep the precepts, but more often than not, we are not interested. The Kilesas teach us to violate the precepts, and we are very happily following their instructions. What do you think? Let me tell you, if you are not smart, it won't do. A disciple of the Buddha must be smart. If you're not smart, you lose out. Our body is just going to Kilesa as refuge. Kilesang saranang gacchami. Nobody consciously wants it like that, but that's what we do. Buddhang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha as my refuge. We might want that, but that's not how it is. We practice Buddho, 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 but a few moments later we are already gone, called somewhere else. Who called us and to where? We actually don't have a clue. We just follow the pull of the Kilesas. They are not showing up and politely introducing themselves as, "Dear sir or madam, excuse me, I'm a Kilesa and I came to kindly drag your attention away." They will not tell you that. In stealth mode, they come and they pull you. And when they leave, you haven't even seen them at all. You can't identify any face or eyes. They pull you until you go with them. Buddho, 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 and in the next moment you are gone again. If you're not smart, that's all you manage to recite until you get dragged away by the Kilesas. Dragged to where? You don't know. Drag towards things you like, drag towards things you don't like. Liking, disliking, liking, disliking, whatever you like, right there you get dragged. And whatever you don't like, whatever you strongly hate, despise, or are angry about, let's say whatever is really, really suffering, there they really like to pull you. Wherever it's red hot burning, there they want to pull you right there. You might think that you have the Buddha as your refuge, but actually you go straight to where you get massacred, right to where you get beaten up, trampled, and destroyed. And that's not what the Buddha as a refuge really is. If you have the Buddha as your refuge, you will feel as if you're living under a cool shade, truly happy, safe, and secure. Therefore, with all the bravery you can muster, strive, make an effort. Try as much as you can until you make yourself into a true disciple of the Lord Buddha. This human birth of ours is of absolute highest value. It's the end of the Dhamma Talk. I also added a poem of Luang Pu Ben and translated it, a Gatha, we call it in Thai. Gatha by Luang Pu Ben Danakaro. I titled it, Worlds at Peace. A heart unstirred is a heart at ease. If every heart now is at ease, the whole world will be at peace. No need to seek it somewhere else. Just bring your heart to reach this peace. Every heart that reached this peace has this world and all other worlds brought to peace in their entirety. Please keep on meditating. Just let the word of the Ajahn settle in your mind. Some of you might find it was a bit too strong. Some of you might get inspired by it. Some of you, especially who practiced the meditation word Buddho before, gain some motivation through talks like that to re-establish the practice, to give it a new goal. You might have failed before, could not make it continuous. But that's what Dhamma talks are for, especially from the Kruba Ajahns, from good teachers who are examples for us, who went the path already before. They inspire us. They teach how they practiced, what was of good results for them, what gave good results for them. If you haven't tried this practice yet, you can also give it a try. See how your mind responds to it. No practice is easy, you see, and in the end, they're all just methods, they're techniques of meditation, which lead to the same goal, to quietening the mind. As Luang Pu Ben said, calming the mind. This is one strategy, one gimmick, one skillful means, upaya, they call it, to get a handle on the mind. In our forest tradition, I would say maybe 70 to 80% of our teachers back in the days, especially the last 2 or 3 generations, they used a lot this meditation word, technique. And it's good to have a stockpile, a little bit like a toolbox. For different situations, different mental strategies, different mental tools can be applied in different situations, during the day. Maybe walking is not the same as sitting. Maybe the breath meditation doesn't work for many people in walking meditation. I've heard that a lot. So what do? Not meditating while walking? No, you search for a method which your mind likes. You have to try out a few, I guess. But be honest with yourself and really try them for a long time to really see if your mind really doesn't understand how to do it or really is repelled by it. So you have to give it an earnest try. But on the other hand, there's also the danger of overdoing the testing out. There are so many meditation methods out there, it seems. There was once a talk from Ajahn Thirachitto in Wat Banana Chad. I listened to it, and it was one of my favorite talks. And he said once that, you know, through the internet these days, it is so easy to Google up the next, what's today, the hottest meditation topic today. So it's, if you open the internet, if you Google or DuckDuckGo, then you see so many instructions, so many teachers, also so many monks and lay people, lay teachers give Dhamma talks. It's endless, you know, it's overload in a way. So to really get some results, you have to stick with it for a while. Ajahn Lungpo Blien, who also passed away a few years ago, famous teacher of our tradition, he said at least 6 months you have to give it a honest try, an earnest try to see if that meditation technique is working for you or not. Some teachers say less, some teachers say more, but you know, be honest. Try it, give it a try, at least, you know, a week or 2 or months to see if you get something out of it, if you understand how to apply it. There are some critics who say, oh, the Buddha never taught Buddha meditation, which is in a way correct. You don't find him reciting a mantra or reciting a word or even a sentence. But if it comes down to it, whatever works of calming the mind is okay. If you don't like the word Buddho, reciting it in your mind, you can use another words, Dhammo, Sangho. You can use Buddha, because you could use Dhamma, Sangha. It's just a different grammar form. No. Buddho, the O ending is Pali grammar. It's a nominative case, right? You can also use maybe you're more familiar to a different case like Buddha, you know, Dhamma, with the A ending. It doesn't matter. You can also use any word you have some inclination towards, some wholesome inclination. There's one teacher who said you can use any word if you like. You can use peace, an English word or a Chinese word, or you can stick with, you know, with the Chinese tradition if you're really so deep into it and practiced it along years already. I mean, then keep it Omitofo. I mean, it is just, you know, a representative word for the Buddha Dhamma Sangha in the end. But if you're really deep into the Thai forest tradition, if you have faith in the Kruba Ajahns from our tradition, Longpo Cha, Ajahn Man, Ajahn Mahabua, on all our Kruba Ajahns, then it's good to maybe start anew and use these words the, you know, enlightened teachers in our tradition used. It gives you confidence. Because sometimes if you do it a long time, doubts could come up. Oh, is that the right word? Especially if you choose your own word, you know, it comes quite quickly. There's this tendency of the mind to find something to hinder your progress. And then doubt will sneak in. Oh, maybe that word is not holy enough, not powerful enough, right? Happened to me. Happened to other people. Just as a warning. It's good to stick with the tradition. It has also the power of the community. You know, Ajahn Man, Ajahn Sao, all the Kruba Ajahns use that to a certain extent in their practice and get good results out of it. They praise it, they teach it, their disciples. So try it out. I use both methods. I use breath meditation and Buddha meditation. but you can be creative, and you have to. You have to really find something your mind can apply, your mind can make sense out of, your mind likes, gains confidence in. But what's wrong with the word Buddho, which means the awakened one? That's the end goal we all want to achieve. We all want to become Buddho, awakened, a mind awakened, a mind liberated. I mean, that's a pretty good word. Speaking from my own practice, I found you have to really observe your mind, know yourself. Let's give an example. The mind is not always, in my case, willing to stay with Buddho, right? Especially in the morning on arms round, right? The Kruba Ajahn, they teach us to stay with this Buddho recitation in the mind from the moment you wake up, do your chores, you go on arms round as a monk, and all the time you try to keep with that meditation work, sticking with that meditation word as much as you can. But sometimes the mind just doesn't want it. You say it like I just said in the talk from Nobu Ben 2 or 3 times, and then the mind is somewhere else thinking about stuff from the past, from the future, whatever. You are gone, you lost your mindfulness. And that's normal. But if you try it again and again and again, it really doesn't stick, and you see a pattern. It repeats every day. Every day the same pattern repeats itself. Like, for example, I myself found in the morning, I cannot stick with that one word. First you think, oh, I'm not good enough. No. Then somehow, I don't know where the idea came up. Oh, the mind doesn't like this short word. It's too short. So I did Buddho Dhammo Sangho in one go. Buddho Dhammo Sangho, Buddho Dhammo Sangho, Buddho Dhammo Sangho. And lo and behold, my mind immediately stuck with it. It liked it. It liked to have 3 words, Buddho Dhammo Sangho. It has a nice rhythm to it, Buddho Dhammo Sangho, Buddho Dhammo Sangho, Buddho Dhammo Sangho. And I could walk arms round, and the mind liked it. And when the mind likes it, you don't have to force it so much, and continuity developed, and my mind became calmer. And then I figured out in the morning, my mind likes Buddho Dhammo Sangho. Maybe in the afternoon and night, it just likes Buddho more. Right? I just give you an example that you have to play around, to know yourself, to adapt to your own capacity, to your own knowledge. Some people, for them, it's even Buddho Dhammo Sangho too simple. They recite a whole mantra or a whole gatha, a whole sentence, a line from the chanting. I had in my old monastery where I ordained, I had a Thai monk who was a little bit older than me. He told me he cannot meditate. He cannot watch the breath. He cannot hold Buddha in his mind. But he was one of the most foremost chanters I've ever seen. He knew all the chants. They are available in Thailand, I guess. He could recite them in all styles immediately. Just tell him, do it in this style, and he could repeat it in that style. He was one of the quickest Patimokkha chanters I've ever heard. The most fluent. And he told me his practice is chanting in his mind. He's not holding Buddha as a word. He's chanting all the time. And that keeps his mind stable. That keeps his mind inside, engaged inside. Mindfulness with the chanting in the mind. In the beginning, as a young monk, I criticized him. I said, oh, that's wrong. That's not, Buddha never teaches that. But now, since I'm a little bit more experienced and analyzed my own mind and my own practice, I see now that it's a valid way of practicing. He found a way to make his mind staying with an object. And therefore his mind becomes more calm. And that's the way we have to all find ways to make it work for us. Some people are just lazy. They want, there's some meditation systems out there in the world, especially from Burma. We have this systematic teachings. You do A, then you do B, then you do C, and then you get this and this result at this and this stage. It is not so easy. Also, the Buddha never taught like that. It is a gradual path, and it's a dynamic path, and we have to start at many fronts or fight at many fronts simultaneously. First of all, we have to hear the teachings, learn the different methods, and then try them. Now, if you come to a teacher you have faith in, then use his technique for quite a while. If you have faith in a teacher and in a system, then do it and don't change around too much. If it's a solid, valid system, then do it until you get some results and you understand how the mind and the body works. That's the whole point of all meditation techniques, to get inside, to get familiar with the mind, with the workings of the mind. Ajahn Chah said once, all meditation methods, they are just means of feeding yourself. They're different means, everybody has a different job. But what counts is that you feed yourself in the end. That all it matters. And the same applies to the different meditation techniques, you see. It's just different means of earning a living. But why you're earning a living, why are you going to work? That you have some food in your stomach in the end of the day. That's why we go to work, to survive. And then the Dhamma practice is to get the mind calm, to get a handle on the mind, to get control over our mind, to teach our mind. Chittang tang tang sukhavahang. A well-trained mind brings happiness. We have to find means of training that mind. And in the beginning, it is really hard. But there are techniques, there are methods, there are strategies we have to apply, but we have to do them. And we should not think that the meditation technique is doing the meditation for us. This is what Ajahn Thirachitto in that talk I loved so much said. It really struck a chord with me. Most of people think the meditation technique is doing the meditation for us. But that's not how it is. We have to apply it. We have to make it work. It is just a tool. The tool doesn't do anything by itself. So if it's a reasonable method like Buddha meditation, like Amitofo, all these techniques which many masters through the centuries developed to give us easy access to this mind. A diversity for these diverse characters out there. Whatever works, use it. If the Buddha taught it or not, we all reach that same spot where the real practice, I don't say real practice, a bit controversial, but when the mind is calm, then the real work on the mind, the panya work, the work of wisdom, the work of analysis can start. Before we have a calm mind, it doesn't go deep enough to change something in our minds for good. So I encourage you all to try, if you have no meditation method or theme yet for you, to try also look into this, what they call sometimes mantra recitation or meditation word. To keep mentally a recitation of that word going in your mind. Like in our case here, Butto, 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 Butto. As a substitute for thoughts which are uncontrolled, flying around, coming out of nowhere. Who the heck knows where these thoughts are coming from, They just pop up in your consciousness out of nowhere, and sometimes total, stupid, unrelated stuff. That's the mind in control with the kilesas, with the defilements, with the hindrances. And if we try to get a control over that mental stream, over consciousness, these defilements tend to fight back. Some people feel when they start to meditate with any meditation technique, they sit down, want to calm the mind, they feel more stressed, more irritable, more suffering than before they meditated. But this just seems so. The mind is as it was before, but you didn't recognize it because you never try to look where the problem in your life of suffering really originates. And the moment we get down to that source of suffering, these defilements, they get kind of afraid and they fight back with all their means. They make us restless, they make us suffer, they make us squirm, they make us lazy, they make us tired. All the 5 hindrances get pushed into the forefront of our consciousness as obstacles. And most of us, we stop. 90% of new meditators stop exactly there because they feel more uncomfortable than before they actually meditated. But the people who pull through, they will see, and it doesn't take long, that they will subside. They cannot last forever. In most cases, actually, they will last not long at all, maybe a few hours, maybe a few days, as many of you maybe know from retreat experiences. Normally, after the 3rd day of intensive meditation retreats or 4th day, they start to gradually drop away, and you gain more power over the mind. But if you give up before you reach that first result of the calming practice, you will never get the proper results from the Buddhist path. You give up. So, and that is not easy. We all went through that. Every meditator, every Buddhist who tried his hands on meditation experienced that. You are not alone. You're not alone. We all went through that. The Krupa Ajahns, our teachers, all went through that. And even the Buddha went through that. 6 years of wrong practice, of torturing himself nearly to death. Until one day he found out, oh, I think I have to restart my practice. I did it completely wrong. You know, even he was close to death and he didn't even know if the way out of suffering is really possible. And he pulled through, he persevered, he endured, he didn't give up. What's giving up for? What is it good for? Everybody who gives up gets weaker. Nothing gets solved. So don't retreat. If you don't get results yet, put more effort in, get more knowledge, listen to more Dhamma, get more strategies, get more input, but then do it and overcome that increased hindrances who come up, this increased suffering, which is temporarily. But this is the suffering, the Buddha said, this is the suffering which leads to the end of suffering. We have to accept that. The path is not easy, but there's no alternative. Nothing gets better by itself. We just say, okay, no, I stop meditating, I stop following the Buddhist path, you know, but nothing will change. When your good old karma runs out, you know, maybe momentarily you're quite okay, comfortable, but you know, you will get older. Death awaits us all. The world doesn't seem to get any better. Nothing will change. And then we will regret. So have the bravery, like Luang Por Ben in the end said, take all your bravery together and really try it. to follow the Buddha's path as good as you can. This life is fleeting. It is short. And it's the most precious gift to be in this, to have this lifetime as a human being, and then come down to it and receiving the teachings of the Buddha. But if we are not practicing it, including myself, I'm also giving a talk to myself, a motivation to myself also when I talk to you. Don't think, I'm finished. I'm not. I'm also need motivation. And that's what we do. That's why you tuned in to Dhamma talks of monks or other lay meditation teachers regularly to get this motivation. And this is also what we need. But this is all we can give to motivate you, to give you a little bit, piti, uplift, listening to the Dhamma, hearing experience from other meditators, some advice. But then if you get this positive feeling or this encouragement, you have to put it into practice. Don't just let it, shrivel away, just like, poof, and then it's gone again. So if you get motivated, then use that, turn that into effort in the practice. At least coming back to the body, coming back to the breath, or trying to recite this meditation word constantly in the mind. Buddho, Buddho, Buddho. Because when that Buddho becomes continuously, which you have to work on many days, continuously. If you pause too long, the mind gets sluggish again. The mind gets defiled again. But if you keep at the work, showing the kilesas that you mean business, in no long time, there comes a moment where this Buddha becomes automatic in the mind. You don't even have to say it. It runs by itself. And that is when true mindfulness kicks in. You gain a new perspective on the mind. And then there comes a moment, the Kruba Ajahn says, where this Buddha disappears by itself. You don't make it go away, it will disappear. Maybe many of you had this stage already, where the breath disappears, or where the meditation word disappears, and then the mind is really truly silent, and then you probably reached deep samadhi. And then things become more easy. The mind is then, so to speak, in automatic mindfulness mode. So we are coming to the end of that Dhamma talk soon. I wish you all the best down in Malaysia or Singapore. Make much of the practice, make much of the opportunities to stay engaged over the internet with your favorite monks or favorite Dhamma channels. It is really a good thing. Other generations didn't have this opportunity before, but I hope we will not make this, how they call it, the new normal. I hope one day we can meet each other in person to person, which is for both sides more beneficial. But until then, we make the best out of that what we have. So all my best wishes down to Malaysia, Singapore, which has lockdowns, I've heard again. So keep enduring, make the best out of the situation. What else can we do? And we at least have the Dhamma as our refuge. Other people in the world, they don't even know about this possibility, that there is a way out of suffering. So with this, I will end my Dhamma talk.
Thank you, Ajahn, for translation and the teaching. Lead us to this powerful, encouraging, and inspiring Dhamma talk. Let us bow 3 times. First bow, second bow, and third bow.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavandang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. All three more times for our Kuba Ajahns, our teachers in the tradition.